What's up, hikers and mountaineers? Welcome back to another episode of the Baada Summit podcast. My name is Kiprono Letting, the host.
And I'm Sandra Bomett, the...
I usually introduce the guest,
Okay.
but...
Oh, you do? Okay. You let that out.
And our guest today is Sandra Bomett. Karibu sana.
Asante sana. Thank you for having me.
How are you doing today?
I'm good.
So, Sandra, you're hiker number one, first of all. That's why you're here. And outside hiking, what do you do?
Outside hiking, I'm a counselling psychologist. I'm a birder. So I love birds.
Okay.
I love birds. I run a small hiking gig called Elet, which I do as a hobby. And I'm a businesswoman. Yeah.
Okay. So welcome again to the podcast.
Thank you.
And speaking about you being a counseling psychologist, so there are different types of psychologists, isn't there?
Yeah.
Counseling.
So there's counseling psychologists, there could be clinical psychologists who are more on the pathology side of things, so medicating, say, bipolar and those disorders. Such disorders, we have child psychologists, we'll have sports psychologists. So psychology is...
It's broad.
It's a broad arm. It's just
Okay.
like medicine, and how you have general physicians, and then you'll have your other arms of medicine. So psychology is broad.
Okay.
Yeah.
But generally you help people that may have problems, or who have problems.
That's what, like, and I know when people think of counseling psychology and they're looking and they're like, in the past, it used to be, hey, you have a problem, you have a mental problem.
Okay.
But not necessarily. You don't have to have a problem to come see a counseling psychologist. You might just want a place to sit and, talk to somebody.
someone.
It's a free space. It's a space where it's a non-judgmental space. So you can come as you are with whatever it is that you're coming with, and know that there'll be somebody on the other side who can listen to you and just help you to come to terms with whatever it is that you need to come to terms with.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. So you might have issues that you want to solve, or you might have decisions that you need to make and you need to gain some clarity. So that's what we help people do.
Now, the reason I asked that, like, there's a friend of mine who asked me, like, is hiking like something that heartbroken people do? She
What
got
was
it
your
from
answer?
that one for I didn't have like a solid answer.
But what did you think?
I mean, like, that's a question for you now. But what I think, I mean, hiking, you're there in nature, you're meeting people, new people, and then generally hikers like have a good vibe. And then let's say at that moment, like, this is one goal. Let's say everyone's going for the summit, or
Yeah.
everyone's going to see a waterfall. Yeah, so we're all working towards that. And then let's say, even if it rains or anything, we'll help each other somehow. Or, yeah, I think it helps take like your mind away probably from what worries you in normal life. That's what I think. Hiking helps. Yeah. But for me, okay, and also other people hike maybe for fitness, or like me, I hike to document and share different trails and places, and also to summit mountains. And cha muhimu ni summit.
In fact,
Yeah,
I wanted
so-
to ask that, what's most important for you? Like when you're hiking,
Yeah.
what would you consider as your key thing as to what makes you get out there and hike?
Umekuwa interview. Okay. The key thing. Well, say I have a plan. So let's say we're climbing Longonot. So I like to track everything. So I just climb Longonot, take lots of pictures, videos, and then do the whole hike. Then I'd like to share the stats of the hike, how long the hike is. Yeah. So for people to expect, let's say, and what for people to know what to expect. Let's say if you want to climb Longonot, this is how it looks. this is how long it is. Yeah, that's what I like to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what, after you've done all that, what does that make you, like, what does it make you feel? After you've documented, you've gone
Yeah.
out, you've hiked, you've
I want
put
to
it
say
out
I
there.
like the feedback from people. Like if it helps people, yeah, that's nice. Yeah. And also like in the long run, like after I've done every possible hike in Kenya, I'd like to do a guidebook. So yeah, so that's the ultimate goal for me.
Okay. Okay. So there's some satisfaction that you derive from it.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. So going back to my question,
Is it for heartbroken
is
people?
hiking for heartbroken people? Are we heartbroken people?
Are you a heartbroken person? But no,
But why
I
do you
can't.
think someone would ask such a question?
It depends where
Ama,
they're coming from. They could be heartbroken themselves,
yeah.
or they might have a number of people that they know who hike who are heartbroken. Because the hiking community is vast. There's so many people, and there's so many different motivations as to what will get people out there.
Yeah.
Like for you, your end game would be to, get this guidebook or have a guidebook out. You like documenting it. So there's a certain process, and it gives you a kick. You get
Yeah.
an edge out of it. The people who might go there, and your objective is you're going there to find someone. Like, people hike,
Yeah.
guys, girls hike. I don't know who hikes more, men or women. So you're going out there
I
with the
find lots
soul.
of women hiking.
I see lots of women hike. So if you're a guy and you know that, then you'd want to attach yourself to some place where a hiking community that is full of women, and in there you might find
A match.
a match. Some people hike because they're trying to, test their limits. They want to know how much they can push themselves. Some people hike because it's a good way to build your self-esteem. So you might have gone to see a counselor or a life coach, and they notice some qualities about you. You might be a little bit, say, timid or a little bit scared, and they'd suggest that you go and do something like hiking,
Yeah.
which now pushes you out of your comfort zone. And as you're doing that, then you build that self-esteem more. So that's another reason why
Yeah.
people would hike. Other people hike just to go and eat snacks on top of a hill somewhere, sitting on some grass and relaxing. As simple as that. Or some people will hike because the hike destination is there. So I'll go to Longonot because I know it's there. I'll go to Ngong Hills because I know it's there. I'll go to Ololokwe because I've driven on that road and I've seen this rock structure, and I say, oh, wow, it would be nice to climb that.
So
So
why do you hike?
I hike because it gives me peace.
Peace from what?
It gives me peace, a lot of peace, because and I don't speak for everybody who's in this profession, but when you talk to people and you get to interact with very many different people, and majority of the time those people have problems, and we're only human, so you internalize a lot of these things, and as you're trying to figure out, like Kip, for example, came and told me this, and in as much as I can't solve your problems for you, we believe that you're autonomous. You can solve the problems for yourself. But I'll think about it, like he said this. What could be disturbing him? How do I help him, find his true north? So now for me to be able to unpack, I go out. So when I'm in nature, I feel like that's the one time that I have to myself. And as I'm walking, I feel like I'm cocooned. I'm in this bubble that's just me. No problems, no worries. It's just myself and nature. So I like it.
So backstory, like how we met. We met on Mount Kenya last year
Yeah, in March.
in March. Oh, yeah, March 2021.
Yeah.
You had just finished your climb.
Yeah.
Remember, you had a good time, Sandra?
Oh, Mount Kenya. Oh, Kenya.
Have you been
Mount
back
Kenya.
since?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I was meant to do the Chogoria side because we did the old Moses Sirimon side.
Okay.
And that was an interesting It was an interesting time.
Interesting
It was
time.
an interesting time for me.
What was so interesting?
So we'd planned a couple of hikes with a certain organization that were culminating in the trek up Mount Kenya. And up until that point, I hadn't hiked much. So if I give you a bit of a backstory about myself, I knew about hiking. I'd rock climbed when I was in high school, but I kept saying, I'll hike when I have the right gear. I have to get all my ducks in a row to be able to hike. Anyway, so an opportunity came. It was 2020, COVID struck, and people needed something to do. So we sat down with a few people and decided we're going to come up with this calendar, which we did. And majority of the group went up earlier to Kenya, and a small bunch of us now went up later. Who you found us with. And why I'm saying it was interesting was my state of mind then. I remember getting to Old Moses, the preps had been done. Usual, you do your endurance hikes and then you do your altitude hikes, which would be the Rurimerias, Elephant Hills, and that. And then I was pretty good at it. So when in the hiking community, there's those guys who are at the front, and there's those guys who are at the back, and I don't want to use the car name that people use.
Sweepers and Subaru.
I don't like that term.
Okay.
But usually I'm part of the guys at the front. So we go to Mount Kenya, and Agatha took us, Emmanuel Agatha, good friend. He was on this podcast. And I remember going, and my mind I wasn't really thinking about anything. I wasn't thinking about the summit. I didn't really think too much about whether it was going to be difficult or not. And we get to Old Moses, and the first night, I'm like, I can't sleep. So already I have sleep issues, sleep challenges.
On a mountain.
Off a mountain.
Even off a mountain?
Even off a mountain.
Okay.
I find it very hard to get what's deep, what people would equate to deep sleep. So the first night, difficulty sleeping, and I say, okay, fine, maybe this is the altitude, but it's not too high. And we proceed on, so we get to Shiptons. So we get to Shiptons, and it was packed. And I'm thinking, this is COVID time, this place is packed, there's the risk of getting COVID in here. But I was like, nah, okay, not too bad, we make do. We have to do this climb. The morning comes. No, not morning comes, because you start summiting
at 2 a.m.
Yeah, at 2 a.m. And I remember Agatha saying, if you can't control your temperature, you're not going to go up this
Control as in?
Like you're there, you're shivering, your teeth are chattering.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, God, this cold is not going to be what's making me not get up to this summit. Because then I was afraid of the cold. I was very afraid of the cold because allergic to cold and dust. Like medically, I'm allergic to cold and dust.
Okay.
So we wake up and we start this summit, and we're walking up, and somewhere as we go along, I begin to feel like my fingers are freezing. And I remember telling Agatha, I'm like, Agatha, my fingers are going to fall off. I'm going to lose my fingers. Like, I'm getting frostbite. And I remember him now being a little bit aggressive, like, no, you're not going to lose your fingers. And he takes his shirt, he lifts it up, he removes my gloves, and then he puts my hand on his stomach.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, now I see what the stomach is for. It's pretty warm. And so my hands warm up. And then we go. As we get close to the summit, I remember just feeling spent. And that's about, 4,000 meters?
49.
It's 49.85. 49?
85, yeah.
49.85. But when we're just close, before you get to the metal rungs to hoist yourself up to get to the board, I was like, Chamuhimu is not the summit. This is my summit. If you guys want to go, keep going. I am comfortable here. I remember just sitting there and my mind was, I was pretty blank. But then guys come and they're like, no, we've done this together. We have to do this. You have to make that final push. And remember, this is me who's a pretty fast hiker, but now altitude is getting to me where I'm feeling tired. And so the guides come, help me, hoist me up, and I see the board. And I see the board, but I sit here and I start to cry. And I cried. And if you ask me why I was crying, I was like, there was no reason as to why I was crying. And the reason why I give this story...
happiness or...
It wasn't happiness. I wasn't crying from happiness. It was just a culmination of so many things that had been happening prior to that. And you've gotten to this point, and I wouldn't say it was difficult to get up there, but it was challenging. And I just felt a certain release from being up there. Anyway, so we get to the board, and of course pictures are taken. There was no smiling that was done there, because my feeling was, I'm up here, let's just go. And people say it's beautiful, you see the sunrise, look into the horizon.
You didn't care then?
I had... That didn't cross my mind, like how beautiful that was. If you look to this side, you see Batian. Not bothered. Man was like, can we just get back down there, get back to where we need to get to Almost finish this thing, and I go back home. And the reason for that story is the mind. Like, what was in my mind then? I had a lot of, what you'd say, stress up until that point. So by the time I got up there,
it was a release.
It was a release. It was a release for me. So
was that helpful afterwards?
No, it wasn't. Because the thing you realize is, whatever issues you had, because you think, when I get up there, everything is just going to melt away. It doesn't. Because the same challenges that you had, you'll come and find them. You come and find them later, and you still have to deal with them. So, yeah, that's my Mount Kenya story. Then when we came, as we were walking down, I remember seeing you.
Yeah.
Going up during the day. And in my mind, I'm like, this guy must be crazy. He's seeing the challenge right in front of him. Like, because you were summiting in broad daylight. Like, this was what?
I was doing a day hike.
It was a day hike, and I was like, yeah, he doesn't know what's about to befall him, but to each his own. Yeah, and that's how we met. We became friends.
Yeah. Oh, nice. And you recently came from Kili. Congratulations on your summit, by the way.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, you told me about your story about your summit, and I found it like quite fascinating to hear. And that's why you're here, to share with the peoples.
What fascinated
then again,
you?
as you said, at your power of the mind.
Oh, power of the mind. Power of the mind.
Yeah.
It would be interesting. First, tell me what fascinated you.
I mean, you told me first. You did the longest summit push in the history of Kilimanjaro. First of all, that alone is fascinating. Yeah, and I was like, okay, now how long can it be, really? Yeah. So how long was it?
Oh, let me take this story back. Let me take this story back. When you say about the mind, the power of the mind, I'll bring you back to the Kili story, and I'll tell you just how long that took. So when growing up, my dad used to take us round. So he'd take us around with him, and the country. So we travel a lot, and we got to see stuff. And he ran a go down. So in this go down, he used to fix cars. He used to fix cars and make the phone booths. If you remember, like the booths in town where you'd go and put a coin and
coins. Okay.
Yeah. So I'd been around mechanics, I'd been around cars, and I had this fascination with cars. And I remember asking my dad, how do cars roll? How do cars roll? And I was really young, and I kept asking him, how do cars roll? How do cars roll? And he kept asking me, mbona unataka kujua? mbona unaniuliza hii swali kila saa? Siku moja utajua. And I thought to myself, okay. So
How old are you then?
I must have been 9.
Okay.
About between 7 and 9.
Okay.
Around there. So he tells me, siku moja utajua. And I didn't think too much about it. So fast forward, we're going on a trip. Not on a trip, it was a funeral. And on our way there, we get an accident. And the car that we're in rolls. And I see, I'd been fascinated about this thing, cars rolling, for such a long time. And then it actually happened.
Manifested or something.
It manifested, so this happened. And I realized, I was like, wow. Later, and this happened when I was a teenager, so I was about 13. Growing, and at that point is when it hit me. It started coming into my mind that the mind is powerful. Like, things that you think about can happen. Only that this was negative. On our way to school, so there are times, 90s parents were a little bit rough. So if my dad gets to the car before you, sometimes he'd leave, so you have to find your way to school. And as we were passing through town, one of these days, my brother and I and our house help then, I was looking at this building. So we'd pass this building and I'd look at this building and I told myself, I'm going to work in that building. Just mentally, and I made a mental note of it, I'm going to work in that building. Fast forward, I'm in my early 20s. Where was my first job? In that building, and that was International Lifehouse. So then I realized the mind is a powerful thing. Fast forward again, now we've come into hiking. We are, like I said, I run a small hiking gig called Elet, and we're planning a hike. So we're going to Mount Suswa. And before a hike, I like to plan. So I like to know where we're going, what's there in terms of like the medical facilities, what's there in terms of the people, what kind of people are there, what kind of animals are there. So in case something happens, what do you do? Scenario planning. And in my mind, I said,
Worst case scenarios.
worst
and
case
all.
scenarios, worst case scenarios. I think it's better to know than be blindsided.
Yeah. To know what to do if
Yeah.
something happens.
If something happens. And in my mind, I thought, okay, what's the worst that could happen at Suswa? What's the worst that could happen in your mind?
Getting lost.
Getting lost for you,
Yeah.
yeah? For me, what the worst that could happen
So
was...
there are villages there, so I think you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that's not such a big thing, right?
Yeah.
Getting lost.
Yeah.
So to my mind, I was like, aha, what if we meet a snake?
Okay. Yeah, snakes are...
Yeah, so I was like, oh, okay. Suswa has snakes. Suswa has black mambas. So it would be, if that was to happen, then what do you do? And I started to think about it. So the day of the hike, we start the hike.
So you saw a snake.
The hike is going well. It's a nice, cool day. And the group, so when you're hiking, the group will naturally break up into bits. So the guys at the front stumble on a snake. And the snake happened to be a
Black mamba.
black mamba.
Okay.
But the good thing was, this story ends well because we were all safe. Okay, the two guys who stumbled and the guy who stumbled on it, the talking became significantly reduced during the hike because of the fear that thing instilled in them. But again, that now reaffirmed the fact that these things that you think of. So do we make things happen, or do things just happen? So
I believe in fate.
I believe in fate.
Yeah.
So things, whatever is meant to happen, will happen.
I think so.
Okay.
But also, like, you also manifest in many ways what you think about. So
Yeah.
especially for your case.
Yeah.
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 Starting like when you roll the car, the snake, and what else was that?
The job.
And the job. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Have you had moments where your mind,
For me,
you've thought of something and then it's happened?
yeah, okay. It's not hiking related or anything, but whenever like I go to like a mall and I'm driving and I want like a particular parking spot, I normally think, okay, yeah, I'm going to get it. Then I get it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's or which other way? I can't think of any now, but I do believe, yeah, it's quite powerful. Like if you constantly think of something, that in most cases it can happen. So
Yeah. Yeah. So the mind is a powerful tool.
yeah,
And that's a good segue into the whole
yeah.
Kili story.
But wait, before Keely, so like, why did you choose to be like a psychologist? Is it because of like your past experiences, or you actually wanted to pursue such a career?
It's a good question. It's a
Ah,
good question. So I've had a 12-year career in banking, let me say financial services. So I was a stockbroker. And I remember in the office, many of the clients would come and they're not coming to trade and things, they're coming to talk. So they'll talk and they'll be sharing their issues and successes and failures and things like that. And the bank ran this thing, which was like an Oprah Dr. Phil award for the person who people like to talk to the most.
was you?
Yeah. And at that point, I sat down and I thought about it and I said to myself, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing, because at that point, I felt I'd hit a plateau in my career. So in as much as you're comfortable, you're doing something that is paying the bills, and I've done it and I did it for a long time, but I felt this is not it. This is not it. I know people talk about purpose, and you don't have I don't think you have a singular purpose. Like your purpose is to, for example, I don't know what it is, maybe to be a sound engineer, or it could be many things. But I felt like what I was doing was not it, and there was something else. So what was that something else? Now, psychology was a natural transition out of banking, because I was in a place that was getting, I really, really liked what I did, but I needed a change. I needed a change. So psychology was that change. And it was a natural change because I like to talk to people. I like people. Like I genuinely like people and like knowing like what's affecting you. How did you sleep? Like what goes on in your mind? Such things. They give me a buzz. So that's why I made that shift.
But now about the sleep, you don't sleep. You said you don't sleep well. Is it because of now hearing all these stories?
It's a good one. That's a good one. It's
Who's the psychologist? No. Yeah,
the,
psychologist. Yeah.
who's the psychologist?
Yeah.
The lack of sleep, it's can be attributed to self, like who I am as a person. I like to think. I like to think. And I like to find solutions to things. So I'm constantly thinking. And I've gotten myself to that point where, or I'd gotten myself to that point where I wasn't separating stuff. You know how you can compartmentalize. I don't know whether you can do this, but you say between 8 and 9 a.m. maybe I'll have breakfast, and then 9 to 10 I'll exercise, etc. And there's those different boxes for things. Now, for me and my thoughts, then it's jumbled up. Like I'm constantly thinking, constantly planning, constantly. I'm just constantly thinking. So switching the mind off was a challenge for me, which I tried to resolve when I was doing Kilimanjaro, because that's the first time in a long time, not when I was doing Kilimanjaro and I was climbing Kilimanjaro, the first time in a week I had no thoughts at all. Like my mind was absolutely empty.
Enjoying the moment.
Oh, no, it was empty, but it was deliberate.
Okay.
And I'd done some things to ensure that that would happen.
Okay. So let's talk about Kili.
Talk about Kili.
Which route did you do?
I did Marangu.
Okay.
Yeah, I did the Marangu route.
How
Reason
was
why I chose the Marangu route was the cabins. I'm not about that camping life.
No camping for you?
Yeah. Not on Kili.
Not on a mountain.
Not on Kili.
Kili, okay, yeah. Marangu is nice. I like Marangu.
Yeah. Because I remember we went to Ololokwe. You've been there too, yeah?
Yeah.
Slept at the top.
Jew, yeah.
And I don't know whether you are in the canopy or
in the forest, yeah.
You were in the forest.
Yeah.
And how was that? Like,
it was okay.
How was that night?
Yeah. If we slept like at the edge, it was windy at that time. So that's why we didn't sleep there.
Yeah.
You slept at the edge?
We slept at the edge. We slept at the edge. And that feeling, Lord, that tent was rocked completely.
Did you even have a bonfire?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
But there was a bonfire a bit, and then now going to sleep, the wind was buffeting that tent properly. So in as much as it was beautiful, and again, if you have sleep problems, so there's the whole night just like...
If you're blown away, if you're going down, you're blown down the mountain. What?
I didn't think that... No. That I didn't think we were going to be blown off.
Okay.
But it was just loud, like... It was like a horror movie. Then as you unzip to go out, say in the middle of the night to...
Bathroom break.
Then you see the clouds, and it's like, wow, this is the making of a horror movie. No, but yeah, from that point, I was like, no. If I'm going on a mountain and I can get a cabin, I want those four walls protecting me. Oh, yeah, so
I want you to tell us this summit story.
Okay, so the summit story. Ladies and gentlemen, this story ends well. So we start. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful day. So a beautiful time, and I knew during this period it's not going to be raining in Kili. It's a mountain. It can rain.
That was September.
October. No. This is October. Late October.
Yeah, okay.
Late October. Because the rains are starting. The rain should be starting now. Yeah. So I knew the weather window was good. It would be nice and hot. So day one, trek up.
Easy.
Trek up easy. So get to Mandara. Now on the way to Mandara, I remember seeing a gentleman carrying his lady friend. Or a gentleman carrying a lady down.
Okay.
And I thought, hey, these Tanzanian guys are proper. This lady is struggling and this guy is carrying this chick down here. Gongo, piggyback. Like piggyback.
Okay.
And I'm like, these Tanzanian guys, check. At least they can carry you down. But that now mental note that. So we get to Mandara. Fantastic. It's low volume. There are not that many people, so I have the whole cabin to myself.
Yeah.
Spread out my sleeping bag. It's a beautiful night. It's warm. Have dinner. It's fine. Day 2. Now we're moving from Mandara. We're going to Horombo. Again, the hike starts. We go and detour to Maundi. It's Maundi Crater. take some of those nice shots. It's beautiful. Again, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. My energy is... I didn't sleep at Mandara. So my energy is good. I'm feeling hyped. We're walking. The guide even says, "Hey, Sandra, we should just make it to the... We should push. We should push on today. You're doing really well, like your Potter pace." Again, everything is beautiful. We get to Orombo. Again, nobody, cabin all to myself. And all this time, sitting alone, having dinners, like with my guide. But majority of the time, I'm by myself.
So
And
solo trip.
Solo trip, yeah. And it's comfortable to that point. I'm thinking nothing, feeling nothing, no altitude sickness, nothing. And I'd made a conscious decision that I was not going to take Diamox. I was going to do this hike. Diamox is a cetazolamide. People use it to
prevent altitude sickness.
Yeah, or to mitigate the effects of altitude sickness. Continue going up. The next day, wake up again. It's a beautiful day. There are birds flying around. It's just lovely. And that walk, that desert walk. And the good thing now, when I compare Kenya and Kili, the ablution facilities on Kili
much better.
Much better. We get up to now. On the way there, before we get to Kibo Hut, there's it's almost like 100 meters. When you turn,
like the lunch point,
after? No, after the lunch point, because there are two lunch points, where the toilet is, and then there's the other one.
Yeah.
And then now there's where you turn left.
Yeah.
And then now you take another left, and then you're seeing this hill.
It's like a gentle climb, but it's like takes such a long time to reach.
So we get there and I'm thinking, oh, wow, this is fantastic. I'm up to here and I'm feeling good. But I'm trying to walk up this hill and I'm seeing it's right there, but I can't get there. And I sit down and I'm thinking, okay, something here is happening. I know this thing is high. I know we're going to 5895. We're going to 4700 meters. But why is this treacherous? So we get there, push. That took me an hour. Now reality is dawning. That this thing will be, and as you're going there, you're looking to your right and you're seeing this sheer wall of silt. Is it sand?
Yeah. Loose rock. Yeah, kwenda juu.
And it looks straight. Like from the bottom, you look at it and you look like the path is straight. Anyway, so we get there, get into the cabin, and you're given your brief. 11, you wake up, dress up. 11 p.m., you wake up. Yeah. 11:30. I know you asked about the time.
Yeah.
How much time did it take? It's not about the time. It's about the...
It's about the...
It's about everything else but the time.
Everything else but the time.
Everything else but the time. Anyway. So 11:30 comes. The whole process come. You get your tea and a snack, which was biscuits, and I ate those biscuits ravenously. Like I gobbled them down, and now I'm ready. I have everything. I have my gear, kila kitu, shoes. 12 o'clock, sharp.
Kila kitu,
down jacket, gloves.
Ready.
In fact, gloves. Now I have two because
gloves.
I'm not going to go through the whole Mount Kenya thing to freeze my fingers. But the funny thing is, I didn't put on the bigger gloves because when the cook came in, and then he's like, "Hey, Sandra, leo, hali ya anga iko top," and it was honestly, Kibo, no cold. It was not cold. The air was still. That night was calm. It was surreal. It was like something out of this world, like from what I've seen before, because I have a few friends who've gone and it's icy and it's cold, it's frigid. So we come out, start walking, and true enough, it wasn't cold. So as we're walking, I can feel my fingers
Inaanza kufreeze tena.
inaanza kufreeze tena. But this time, I'm an experienced hiker. I know they're just not going to fall off like that. No, I was calm.
Okay.
I was calm. Okay. So I'm calm, composed. Keep walking. Sorry.
Same.
So we keep walking. And as we're walking, I'm feeling good. Like we're going up. It's midnight. And I'm feeling good. Like everything in me is feeling good. And I'm thinking, okay.
Can do this.
I can do this. We can do this. We can do this. Guys keep saying, anyone you ask, have you been to Kilimanjaro? Like, what? That last night, like you were there for 5 days. The last night is for 3 days prior to that. The last night is the only thing how tough this thing was. Anyway, so we start going up. We pass a group. Again, there were not too many people. So we pass this group and we pass them a long way. And what I remember about Mount Kenya is as you're going up, I was getting irritated seeing the lights. Because it shows you just how far you have to go. So you're seeing a light then, you're like, are those stars or are those people walking? Anyway, so there are not too many lights. And I purposed, I'm going to follow the guide's shoes. So I'm not going to look up. When we got to before Jamaica, there's a place called Jamaica with the big rocks. The zigzag. So the switchbacks, you're going that way, you're coming back this way. You're going that way, you're coming back this way. And we get to a point, I believe 5,000 meters. Just before there's a Hansmere, there's a cave, there's a little cave. At that point, now this is when I knew things are about... Welcome to Kili. Things are about to get worse. Like, things just slowed down. So this whole time, and remember, the whole way through this hike, and after Mount Kenya, I had promised myself, I'm not going to go on a big hike like that, if my mental state is not good. And not to say that I was going, like I was losing it, but I said I want to be in a position where I'm very calm, that I'm making conscious, rational decisions. So I was really calm, and I was like, but something has changed. Something has changed. So remember, there's no negative thought in my mind, but I know something has changed. So I tell the guide, I want to sit down. So he's saying, there's nowhere here to sit down, but let's at least try and make it to the caves. That was 5,000 meters. The caves, I think, at 5150. So we walk and we get to the cave and we sit. And as I look, I see the sun coming up. So by this time, you can calculate how many hours have passed. Between midnight, the sun is coming up, and we've not gotten to Gilman's Point. So for anyone who hasn't been to Kili, if you get to Kibo, then the goal is Gilman's, Stella Point, and then Uhuru Peak. So I haven't gotten to Gilman's, and then I'm feeling something is off. But I'm not feeling sick, but I'm just feeling tired. So then I say to him, I feel like throwing up. And that this feeling is persistent. It's not going away. So I induced it. And I threw up, and I felt better. Then now I can see all those lights. Remember, all those people we overtook are now...
overtaking you.
They've not overtaken yet, but they're still a distance away. So we had made a significant, push. And now they're doing the whole switchback thing of back and forth, meandering up this hill. So he tells me, let's go quickly so that we are up those rocks. there's some boulders before you get to Gilman's. And I tell him, no, let them come and pass us. But he says, do you know how far they are? Because remember, they're not coming up like this.
Direct.
Anyway, next thing, they pass. And they're gone. And they're above the rocks. And they've gotten to Gilman's. And remember, I'm still here. So I'm still waiting.
You're resting or something?
I was resting. I was buying time. Mine was just like, let my system come back to something that I feel is okay. So we say, okay, fine, we go. But now I knew getting from this point, 5,000, this is now 5,100 to 58.95, I'll need everything in me to push that. But again, no fear, nothing. But I'm conscious of the task ahead. Because the same thing happened in Mount Kenya. By the time we hit, now Mount Kenya was 4,000. That's when I started feeling like,
Is it like
4,500
or something?
It's like, how can I equate it? When you have a battery operated thing and then you see
it's reducing.
It's reducing. But now this is those alkaline, what batteries, like the normal batteries that would bite. So what's that? Yeah, like those AA, triple. So the AA battery still has some juice in it. But
you bite it, then
you bite it and then you put it back. So I was feeling something like that. So I know there's something left, but it's not. The car is just not powering. It's like you're going up a hill, you're trying to rev this car, you're trying to accelerate, but the car just doesn't have the power to go up. It's going up slowly, but you know it's just not going. You've malizaed all those gears, you switched down, whatever, but it's just not going up. Anyway, so I said, let me count steps. So I'll count 40 steps and then stop. I'll count 40 steps and then I'll stop. 40 steps, stop. So it'd go 40 steps, stop. 40 steps, stop. 40 steps, stop. Then I'm thinking, where is this Gilman's point?
Oh, Fiki.
See, Fiki. Get up the rocks, see Gilman's. And then now it's 10 o'clock. Again. There's no time like the present. Anyway, so I sit down. And I'm
10 a.m.
10 a.m. And I can see you smiling because 10 a.m.
Yes, I've calculated those hours.
Yeah, 10 a.m. People are coming back. Some people
10
have.
is still not bad.
But 10 a.m. most guys have gotten and are coming back. Yeah. So I sit there and then the guide asks me, he's looking at me straight in the eye. Because I tell him, I feel like now my breathing is like the oxygen here is. It's hard to get it in, and I'm feeling tired. So he says, but are you going to be able to push it to the summit? Because if not, we can always go back here. I just looked at him, I was like, no, we're going to the summit.
Even you struggling to breathe, you were saying that.
We're going to the summit. I wasn't struggling to breathe. It was like, you just feel there's that difference.
Yeah.
It's not the same as at the gate, for example. You feel there's that. And remember, from my Mount Kenya experience, I knew it. At that, like 4,500, something changed. So in my mind, I was prepared that this was going to happen. Even more. Because by the time I pushed now to climb up those barriers, the metal rungs to get to Lenana, I had struggled. So to my mind, I said, to get to 58.95, it's not going to be a walk in the park. There's going to be some struggle there, and I have to dig deep. Anyway, so we start again. It's 10 o'clock, and we're now pushing to, we're proceeding. Now we're getting to Stella. So I'm walking, and we stop at a point, tell the guy I want some juice, because I felt like I needed some energy. Those are details, like those are the tiny details. So he gives me that. Drink, take 2 sips, give it back to him. It's like, hey, what do I do with this? I can't put it back in the bag. And so he drinks it. And we...
Pole.
Pole. chill for a while. But at Gilman's, told me, with your pace, we'll make it to Uhuru at 2. You'll make the summit at 2. Remember, this is 10 to 2.
4 hours.
And usually that should take you about an hour and a half.
2 hours.
Yeah.
Max.
2 hours. And I was okay. So we keep going. We get to Stella Point, and then we get to just before Uhuru Peak. Like you can see it there.
Over there.
The glaciers over there, and you can see Uhuru Peak over there. And remember I told you about the lady who was being carried? And I thought, Tanzanian guys. Strong, man. And the guy just picked me up. He picked me up. Never in my life did I ever think I was going to be carried, because I think by then he knew I'd take another hour just from that spot to walk.
You could see the signpost.
I was like 50 meters.
Oh, that's close.
100, like about 100 meters. It was really close, but I was walking like on the moon. My legs were full of lead. Anyway, so we get there, and then he gently puts me down.
So remember, shika mafika.
Doesn't matter how.
Like job done.
I can't even remember if he ever did like this one. Anyway, he put me there, and then he went. Whatever I was going to do, I noticed he was praying. So maybe he was asking for grace, because he knew if this is what has taken us to get here.
The struggle going down.
Anyway, so I remember sitting there, and I was looking out. Now, the sun had risen before we got to Gilman's. At night, the sun was overhead. It was going to set. And I looked around, and the feeling I had was of peace. That thing that I go out to look for. I felt so much peace. I was looking at the glaciers on the right. I'm looking over. You can see Mawenzi there on the left, Mawenzi Peaks. And I was just grateful. I was so grateful. And I thought to myself, this is the highest point in Africa, and I'm the only one here now. Like, people jostle for this board. Like, let me take a picture. He's telling me, let's take a picture. And I'm like, no. Stand up, we take a picture. I'm like, no.
After all that struggle.
I was so tired. I was so tired. And I had said, I'm not going to cry. But there's nothing to cry about, because I was happy. Anyway, so begins the long journey back. So this was 2 p.m. And we got to the base at 8.
Kibo.
Yeah, we got to Kibo at 8.
8 p.m.
8 p.m.
That is a journey.
8 p.m. And mountains can humble you. Mountains can really humble you. And this is me who's a fast hiker. I've hiked with you before. And I think, when it comes down to the wire, I can move. Like, I can hike pretty fast. When mountains do humble you, because we came back slowly, and I remember sitting down just before we started coming down, and I asked the guide, can I please have an apple? There was an apple I was eating like on the way, but I put it in the bag, and then in slow motion he gives it to me. In slow motion it falls down, and now I'm watching it
as it
it's
rolls
watching
away.
me as it rolls away. Your energy is not there. And I tell him,
Can't be bothered.
I'm asking him, hizi jams zimeingia hii apple, because people have been going to the toilet in Kibo and they're stepping here. And remember, we're at the summit. The guy just tells me, he's like, come on, ukujua kuna jams. Like, jams don't live here. So slowly reach out for the apple, take it, wipe it pole, and then eat it. And so as we're walking down, it was a slow walk. And when you're pushing for something, because in your mind, everything is so clear. Going up, like that question that you keep asking, chamuhimu ni summit. For this particular hike, I had really wanted to reach that goal. And the goal was to get to Huru Peak.
Why is that? Why did you want to go through all that?
It's the highest point in Africa. Yeah. It's the highest point in Africa. So I was fascinated by that. And I'd gone online and I'd checked all the 6 routes. I had done my research. I had imagined that feeling. What feeling do these people have, like getting to that point? So for me, it was a fascination. I'd watched you and I'd heard your story, not the first time, and then the second time, and then the fact that you can do this thing in a few hours. What took me, Kibo, Summit, up and down.
But we all go through that.
Yeah, so there was that fascination. And as we're coming down, my mind was focused on getting to that goal, but then there's the coming back. So there's all the energy you expend going there. Then there's all the energy that you need to come back down. And my mind was so focused on a positive outcome, I didn't allow room for negativity. Like, I'm not going to do it. No. But when we got back to that, the scree, the place with the scree, the place, what they call Jamaica with the rocks, that Hansmere Point. And I asked myself, I'm like, gosh, why is this happening to me? Why don't I have this energy? Why don't I have this energy? And I told the guide, nibebe tena. Nibebe tena. And then he's like, Sandra, tutadondoka bana, tutadondoka. And now I don't even think I had the energy to laugh about it, but now I find it funny. It's like, no, tutadondoka will fall because it's. And now when you're going down, you're not doing the meanders. You're just going through this silt and going all the way down. And he's saying, no, don't worry. There's somebody who'll come up and will, because of the time, they'll of course see that there was something amiss, and then somebody will be coming up. And I remember just seeing the sun set. And it's like, let's try push it. So by the time we get down, at least the sun we'll do it in some, let darkness not find us here. And we were the only ones on top of that thing. And it was so beautiful. It's like you're pulling some blinds. And I was in awe. And I said, God, you said dusk, dawn till dusk, I'm going to be on this. I'm going to be on this hill. How many people get to see that? How many people get to see that? I got to see that. Anyway, so help came, and I got another piggyback ride. Got to the end, and I had to spend another night
at Kibo.
At Kibo. It's not recommended, so it's not the norm. But I spent another night, and the good thing, I wasn't feeling sick, so I didn't have diarrhea. I didn't have the headaches. I didn't have nausea.
It was just in the morning only.
It was just in the morning when I threw up, and I threw up like thrice. Then that ended. So I was just tired. I was just very, very tired. Yeah, so that's my Kilimanjaro. That's my Kilimanjaro very story. But there was prep. There was preparation before that. And what was key for me, there were things I was doing that didn't make sense to me when I was doing them, but they made sense to me after. And I came up with like my structure, what I did to be able to be successful on that hike, which would seem like a pretty simple thing because Marangu is straightforward. It's a straightforward route. You go up, it's gentle. And the final push is when it's a little bit difficult. But there was things I did before that to guarantee my or rather to better my chances of success.
So like the way like the hike turned out to be, like, would you, first of all, would you go back to Kili?
Yeah, I would.
You would.
I would. I would.
And
I would.
then
And there's a reason for that.
uh,
When I was going, my mom told me, she's like, Sandra, on the wings of an angel, on the wings of an eagle. Now, then when I was tired, I was like, did she say angel? Did she say eagle? Both. You're going to go and you're going to do it. And as we were coming back down, again, when you're leaving Kibo, there's like two rocks. There's two rocks. And I saw an eagle perched there. And as I told you, I'm a birder. So the avifauna or the type of birds that are in Kilimanjaro, Tanzania, there are many. And to see this, like a bird of prey here, to have been told that this was going to protect me, and then here it is, and it's not it's not a small chick. This is a huge bird, and it's just here. I didn't take a photo of it. I didn't take a picture of it, so I'd go back now to start experiencing it. And the guide was asking me, Sandra, hikers need tourists. And I thought to myself, and I was like, it depends. But when I was looking at myself, I wasn't going there I was going there with a singular mission. And my mission was, this path is going to get me there. Anything else on the periphery is just by the way, but my singular mission was to go and conquer this summit. But now next time I go, I'll go now with my eyes open, take a few more pictures, document those birds that I see. So yeah, I'd go again.
oh, okay.
I'd go again.
Shout out to all the Kili guides. So your guide was Isaac.
My guide was Isaac. Yeah, Isaac, Saidi, the driver who got us there. Man, they really took care. They really took care of me. So for any women who are out there and you're thinking of going on a hike, you're thinking of going solo, these are the guys you want to go with, because I was safe. I felt safe. And even that night when I felt I wasn't okay, they were there. They made provisions for me, so that I could help myself in the middle of the night. And they were proactive about it. I didn't have to ask. They already knew it. So they made my stay extremely comfortable. Yeah, extremely comfortable. So
Any future hikes?
any future hikes? Yeah.
Kama gani?
I do have some future hikes. I want to do Mount Mtelo because of you.
Tello, yeah.
Yeah, because of you.
It's a nice hike.
I'd love to do. There's a particular hike in Australia. There's a trip I want to go for next year. So the pronunciation, Mount Kosciuszko. It's
Yeah, I know the highest mountain in Australia.
yeah.
Yeah, it has a complicated name.
It has a complicated name. So I'd want to do that as I work towards those 7 peaks people talk about. I want to do
7
them.
summits.
The 7 summits, yeah.
Nice.
I want to get
Kili
check. And that one I think it started as one of them.
Everest. Yeah.
Eventually Everest. Yeah. Just have to get my mind around the cold. And then work on those finances. But it's on the cards. It's on the cards.
Nice. All right, Sandra. Next segment is normally answering your question segment, but you're not in social media or...
Oh no.
Ama umerudi IG?
Sijarudi.
So I'll just ask you like random questions.
Okay.
Yeah. Then just go from there.
Ask me the question.
Ask
me the question.
Sawa. All right, question 1. Mount Kenya or Kili?
In what way?
Let's pick one.
Kili.
Kili. Now, like in your Kili experience, your summit push wasn't like the norm. What they say the norm. What do you say about that? For people who may be wondering about maybe your experience.
Okay. My Kili climb was not the norm. However, when I look at myself as an individual and working backwards to get to that point, I'd done so much work in terms of preparation to get there. So I was ready for whatever was going to befall me. And again, with altitude sickness, or with altitude, not even the sickness, just altitude alone, the things that it'll do to you, you'll only know when you get there. You can't make the assumptions. You have to experience it. And like I said, the whole Diamox, not taking Diamox, maybe it would have impacted me in a positive way
If you took.
if I took it. Maybe I'd have been faster. Maybe I don't know, but you see, hindsight is 2020. But then again, I now understand my body and I know what will happen to me at that level. So when I go pushing those summits, like when I do, because this is close to a 6,000, when I go now do a proper 6,000, go to 7,000, hopefully one day conquer an
Everest.
8,000-meter peak. Would be good if it's Everest. Look at least I know it's one of
8,000.
of the 7 summits, but
one of the 14.
Yeah, one of the 14, but it's in the continents, the highest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
7 summits. Yeah.
It would be good if it's that, but I have a fairly good idea of what's going to happen to me. But the preparation was done, and then on the day, that day, and if it was a different day, say the period was different, we've gone when it's colder, we've gone when it's raining, so there wouldn't have been opportunities to stop as much as I did. Because you can imagine if you're going up and then there's ice, there's snow everywhere, the winds are high, it's really cold, it wouldn't have been possible. So either I'd have turned back or I'd have gotten more energy to push forward. So the conditions then aligned for me to take my time. So when they say pole, and again, I was alone. So I was making decisions for myself. The weather was perfect. So the weather cooperated with whatever my pace was then. So for me, everything worked out for good.
Okay.
Everything worked out for
What's
good.
the main thing that, let's say, you learned from your experience?
The main thing I learned from that experience, there were many things I learned. And if this helps anyone, like in life, we all don't have the answers, but what I learned from going to Kili and even my preparation, one, I had a clear goal. The goal for me was very, very clear.
Summit.
I'm going to this place and I'm going to summit. Then number 2, I had a plan. So in this plan, what's included? I had my gear, and you don't necessarily need gear. Like you've had people on the show who climb
With sweaters
without shoes. We're not naming names, but Naituli, guys who do those outliers in hiking. So one was have a clear goal. Number 2, have a plan and be focused on it, and be regimented, have a routine that you stick to within that plan. So I had my exercise. So I was exercising before that, what you're eating. I was conscious of that. Then there's the route you're going to take. It's very important. The route you're going to take and the season you're going in. So are you picking this was the long, dry season towards the end. Are you going to go in the long, wet season, which is that
So
around
beginning of the year.
beginning of the year, March to what?
March to May.
March to May, and then June is the perfect time to climb.
When it's dry.
So when are you choosing to go and climb? It'll really affect your climb. Which route are you going to take? Are you going to Kilimanjaro for the first time and then you're going up Umboe? Then you're going to be miserable. But again, it depends on you. If that's your nature and that's what you want to do, then go for it. And the third thing, support. Like, who's your support? I had a really good support system. And I know people have climbed Kilimanjaro, but this is now speaking from my own perspective. I had a good support system. So family, my brother, Louis, my mother, you helped me with getting the guide. And we had spoken about this like I think a year before this climb. So getting a good guide, getting he helped me with stuff.
Just to be psyched.
Just to be
You can do
psyched.
it.
You can do this, you can do this. And then giving me information. You gave me a lot of information and information that you'd otherwise not get from anywhere. So having good support and then having good support on the ground as well. The people that you choose to take you up, and even that psych, are people aligned to what it is that you want to do. Because you might have those guys and they're like, do you think it's like Kipchoge trying to beat this sub 2-hour barrier and then
Someone doubts.
then the guys is running with the lakini tumeenda mbio sana, tutasustain. So the guys I went up with, by the time when now things were tough, he never doubted. Still positive. He never doubted, and so I didn't doubt. That was number 3, having support. Number 4, I'd say have respect. Respect for the mountain and respect for the people around. And the reason why you're doing this, because remember, for me, when things got tough, I had help. And that help came to me very willingly. Now, had I treated these people badly, the situation would be very different. Like, I'd probably have to walk a large amount of that time by myself because you've treated people badly. And again, we treat people with respect because this is, and when you asked me, Kenya or Kili, this is Kili, it's Tanzania. So if you go there and you act a certain way, you're either paving the way for the people who are coming next, or you're putting obstacles on the path of the people who are going to come.
Wakenya wanakuanga hivi.
Wakenya wako hivi, Wakenya wako kusumbua and all those things. Yeah, so be mindful of the other people who are coming next. We're number 4. Now we're number 5.
Okay.
Or we're lost somewhere. Number 5 is your mind. What are you filling your mind with? What are you filling your mind with prior to going on this hike, and especially the bigger ones? Personally, and because I knew I had those challenges, like the sleep was going to be a challenge, cold, I don't like, dust, I'm allergic to. I said to myself I was going to meditate. So I meditated for 2 months straight prior to that, just to calm my mind.
2 months like
2 months
daily?
before. Daily.
Okay.
Daily. Daily, there's something I'd chant.
What do you chant?
If you search it on YouTube, it's Isha Kriya.
Okay.
So just it acknowledges that you're not your mind and you're not the body. Search it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isha Kriya.
Isha Kriya.
Okay.
I did that. Then I did Qigong, which is like an ancient Chinese form of movement, which now it brings your mind, your body, and your spirit, all of those things, it brings them in sync. It works on your chi, which is like your life energy. It brings them all into balance. And when I was doing it, I didn't do it knowing it would work for me then, but it really helped me stay calm when things were. In fact, I didn't get frazzled. The whole 5 days, nothing shook me. Nothing shook me, nothing troubled me, nothing made me feel like I wanted to cry, nothing scared me. I'm afraid of the dark. Nothing in the cabin. Usually, I'd be afraid of creepy crawlies. So I'd see that insect there, and then I'll focus on it like the whole time. Like if I look at it long enough, it'll vanish. None of that was in my mind during this whole period. So, and then the music I was listening to, I cut off everything that wasn't edifying, and I started listening to Christian music, which Christian music and classical music, usually I don't, but
Christian
I
is
did.
like gospel music.
Gospel music, yeah.
Okay.
So I listened to gospel music, I listened to classical music, and what that did to me was it put me in
Drifts.
all those things. God, you'll never let me down. You said you will, your promises, all those things. I internalized them and I used them, and it worked. So there's that. And then there's resources. So have resources. And this is a question: do you need money to hike? The jury is out on that, but I feel it's important to have resources because it gives you options. If you're to go there and then you're not able to do it, maybe you're not able to make the summit, then you're not absolutely devastated because you feel like I gave this thing everything. All my life savings I've brought here, and I've blown it. I've not made it to the summit. What usually happens to people when they go to Everest, because you spend $65,000 and you know that's would have bought you a house somewhere here in Kitengela or wherever, and you've gone there, and then an avalanche happens. The hike didn't even happen. And you've gone back, and that money is gone. So if you have resources, and even for a Kili climb, you go there and then you're not able to do it, or you want to sleep in a certain place and you don't like it, you have that ability to, and I think you've experienced it as well. You can be flexible. If the shuttle that you take you don't like, then you can be, as opposed to you've given this thing your everything. So your mindset there is like, I must do this, I must do this, I must do this. If you need an extra night, say you get to Horombo and you possibly want an extra night, there's that cost, paying all these guides, paying the cooks, paying that, there's that. So it'll afford you'll have that bit of an advantage. So that's something else I learned. And then prayer. Yeah. Prayer is very important. So I believe personally God orders steps. But in as much as he's ordering steps, success follows order. So with all those things, you've planned, you have the support, you have all that stuff, you have to already have had something going, and then God supports that plan. Success follows order. Just be orderly. And then discipline. When you're doing all these things, like when you're starting up, there needs to be a certain discipline that you have to be able to meet a goal, because it's not easy. Maybe there are those guys who can wake up and you just go up, but you'll be disciplined. You'll find that guys who are able to accomplish things, you are doing something progressively and it worked out, and in the end, but you are doing it progressively. It's just not happenstance. Guys are good hikers because they run consistently, they swim consistently.
It's a progression.
It's a progression. Just doesn't happen. Like you're sitting and then you're like, oh yeah, we're going to go to Aconcagua and then I'm going to be nah.
Next question: what's your favorite food on a hike?
Sneakers.
The chocolates.
Oh, I love Snickers.
Yeah.
Snickers and a sandwich. Tuna. A tuna sandwich.
Snickers and tuna. Yeah, I've tasted tuna sandwiches. They're nice. What are your top 3 hiking essentials?
Top 3 hiking essentials. A rain jacket. Very important. Shoes. More important than the
Some nice hiking boots.
Some nice hiking boots. Those things will save you. And toe tape for me.
Toe what?
Toe tape.
Toe tape.
Tape. Like I have to tape my
Your
toes.
You tape
I tape my toes.
each toe.
No, my big toe.
Your
Because
big
when I
toe.
go, usually I wear like a half size or size bigger. So when I'm going downhill, my foot tends to move and it forms calluses right below my big toe, which is very painful. But I noticed when I tape it, if I tape my toe, then that friction stops. So I tape the whole toe.
Oh.
My nail doesn't get
Yeah.
bashed, and my underfoot is
You tape it with what?
with toe tape. I have.
Oh, there's something like a toe tape.
So I buy bandage
Okay.
like that's wider,
Okay.
and then I cut it. I cut it to size
Okay.
for both toes, and then there's now tape. It's not like sellotape.
Elastoplast.
It's not elastoplast.
Sellotape.
Elastoplast is the bandage, but it's like
Oh.
sellotape. But sellotape, a medical sellotape.
Medical sellotape.
A surgical tape.
tape.
Yeah, surgical tape. Then I put the surgical tape
That
around.
becomes a toe tape.
It becomes a toe tape.
Ah,
Yeah,
interesting.
and it holds. In fact, that's what
Kushuka chini.
hey kushuka chini. So kushuka chini. Before my knees used to really hurt. Drunk soup, bone soup, that stopped hurting. So I don't have downhill for me is not. It's not a thing. It's not just that getting grazed at the bottom of my feet.
Interesting. All right. So can you be like the hiker's psychologist? Utusaidia maybe some hikers, maybe some of us can talk to you.
Yeah. Kuna shida kuja kwangu. Takusort.
Na
No,
utapatikana
definitely. They can come through you.
Or they DM me. No,
Yeah, they can DM you.
Put your labda tuweke email yako.
Oh yeah, you can put. It'll be, how do YouTubers say it?
Upper.
It'll be here.
No, down.
Yeah.
And for the listeners, what's your email address?
My email address is S for Sandra, B for boy, Chelel, CHELEL @gmail.com.
Okay. And this is specifically for people that want to speak to a psychologist. Sana for the hikers. You can speak to Sandra.
Yeah. Welcome. Feel free.
So.
My doors are open. Reach out. Yeah, and thanks Kip for this opportunity. And thanks for you're a resource. Many of my hikes have been following you. Yeah, so where Kip goes and you post it and we follow. So what you do is important. And going back to you liking to document stuff, it helps. Yeah, it really does add value. So you might not know it now, but I'm telling you, I'm one of those peoples.
Right.
Yeah, who uses your information. So thank you very much. And congratulations as well for the things that you do.
Yeah.
It's not easy, man.
Which things?
Especially
Just
this
walking
kili maneno. Woo.
So any last words for your peoples?
Any last words for my peoples? Mind over matter. So anything you want to do, you can do. That's what's up. Yeah. You just have to put your mind in the right frame. And agreed, sometimes it's difficult. Like when you tell somebody, just get over it. Get over that thing, get over that issue. But when it comes to hiking, whatever your goal is, if you focus on it long enough and you, again, like we said, you're disciplined in doing the right things progressively, well, the sky is the limit.
Okay. Cheers, Sandra. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And that's our episode. See you on the next one.